million cups. Everybody's back from the holidays and all riled up. Yeah, you're happy today, aren't you? Yes, good. Good. Welcome to Daytona Cinematique. They are our host here. They allow us to come here once a week. We are Daytona Beach 1 million cups. Do we have anyone here for the very first time? All right, well, welcome, welcome. We are brought to you by the Kauffman Foundation. All throughout the country, we have events going on just like this where entrepreneurs get to share their story and we get to give them feedback. So your audience participation is very, very important to this process. So I want to say hello to my organizers here. We've got Charlie behind the camera today. Val's on vacation. I've got Tom over here. We'll do our question and answers. We have Jason, our rookie. He's here today. He's going to help us out. I'm Sean with Aero Clinical Trials. And Casey's right here. I didn't miss you. I saw you, yes. So if anyone's interested in helping us out, you certainly give us a talk, and we'll be glad to share you the salary we make here at 1 million cups. So today we get to introduce an old friend of mine. I can say that? Yes, because I've known him for almost 30 years. Jim Cameron's been in this area for a long time as a government affairs gentleman for the Chamber of Commerce, and spent a lot of time with him up in Tallahassee. He even knows my aunt, and I know all the secrets from you when you go to Tallahassee now, so you can't hide from that. So he's got a great thing going on in Volusia County, sharing Volusia's story with Volusia Matters podcast. So let's give a nice warm welcome to Jim Cameron.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Well, thank y'all for letting me join y'all today. I'm Jim Cameron, and Jim Cameron Consulting. And before that, I worked with Daytona Regional Chamber 1983 to 2021. And I say that, I did government relations for them then, and I'd like to introduce the young man who's doing that now, Dave Robinson, who's a great guy. If you hadn't met him yet, you need to. And I'd like to introduce him around town as the young man that is cleaning up 38 years of mess and chaos and ill will that I caused all of this county, all that time. But no, he's doing a great job. But in that, though, one of the things I tried to do was, well, let me also mention, government relations. My daughter, who just turned 42 the other day, when she was little, she used to ask me, Dad, what do you do work-wise? I mean, what's government relations, Chamber of Commerce, what's that about? And so I figured the best way to do it was I let her stay up on Sunday night and watch the opening segment of a James Bond movie. And then I said, well, Holly, this will kind of maybe give you the idea of what Dad does. And so, sure enough, I mean, there was race cars and, people jumping out of airplanes or whatever, split second saviors, and then bad guys getting shot, bombs going on, everything, the whole works in that first segment. And then she looked at that, then she went on to bed that night. Well, one day, about 3 weeks later, I picked her up from daycare, and she gets in the car, and she said, "Did you have to kill anybody today?" What? Don't you do the James Bond stuff? Well, yes, I do. But not quite. I do it a little bit different from James Bond, but close. Close. And so I was thinking the other day, and since you turned 42, maybe I better go ahead and tell her the truth. But that said, government relations, so that said, one of the things I tried to do down there at Chamber was build relations between Daytona and our representatives in Washington and their staffs, as well as our representatives in Tallahassee and their staff and other department heads and such. And so we had them down here for a number of occasions for speaking engagements, and we'd go up there chair of Volusia days for about 20-some years or whatever. But that said, we have some people here, like you have Pam Bondi right there. That was the speaking engagement she had here. She was one of my better speakers up there in the Volusia days at the Capitol. And then also Ron DeSantis. And that's back, I think I can't remember if he was either congressman or governor at the time though, but we worked with him quite a bit both ways. And then Michael Waltz, when he was congressman here, who's now our U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and then also Marco Rubio, which he had his first town hall meeting as a U.S. senator right down the street. His first ever as a senator at the News Journal Center. And then Rick Scott, that's back when he was governor, and he's now U.S. senator. Actually, I texted him last night, got a response this morning. I mean, we still stay in touch. And then I retired 2021, and they had this event out there for me at one Daytona. Nancy Keeper and Roseanne Tortor and some others, they put a fabulous surprise for me. So really, I'll never forget that. But then, one of the things I wanted to do was when I started Jim Cameron Consulting, I started what's called Volusia Matters newsletter and podcast. And I think it's important for business people to just keep up to date as much as possible, brief type facts and such. But it has here some of the things that go on, like governmental, political details, but as it relates to cities and counties, like DeLand, Deltona, Edgewater, as in Edgewater Monday night, County Council yesterday, Ormond Beach last night. Going to be at Daytona tonight. They got that big thing that may be going to court up there on Avalon Park because they rejected the Ormond Beach last night, rejected the Daytona Beach offer for water rights up there. You'll be hearing more about that in the news. But also from our legislature and congressional delegation, economic development, business indicators, things along those lines, First Step Shelter. You'll see this when I explain it though. But then I try to put it in a succinct form. All of my newsletters are just stories of one column or less. And I have a few ads in there though, but that's County Council. I was there, like I say, quite a bit yesterday. And then, like I say, these are the recommendations that the County Council is going to be making forward to the legislative delegation that they did back October 29th. That legislative session starts January the 13th. And wait, oh, by the way, where's Charlie? Oh yeah, can you give me a sign with about 5 minutes?
Yeah.
To go? And you said what I had, what, 2 hours to do this?
More or less.
2.5. Oh, 2.5? Okay. No, just if you can kind of give me a little signal,
Okay.
whatever, I'll try to see. But spent quite a bit of time over there. And then also, like I say, with governor's office, it relates to property insurance. That's a big issue that's going on right now, legislature-wise and such. Holly Hill City Commission. This is another thing I try to do, and I maybe need some help from some of y'all from time to time. I have what's called a people page. I may know some of these folks here on there. Is that if somebody changes a job or if they start a new business or if they retire or something like that, I try to put them on this. So, good example, Dr. DeMar. She's the legislative assistant for Representative Chase Tremont, and he is being deployed next week. He's going to be going over there in the Middle East for a year. And so we're sure going to miss him though. And then also he, I believe he just got married to his fiance. I think that was last week or so, like that. This fellow here, Zane Rutel, you might remember him. He's changed jobs. He used to work with Jimmy Petronas when Jimmy Petronas was state CFO. He's now Congressman, Petronas is. So Zane Earl went over there to Lake County. We dealt with him quite a bit. Y'all might remember Hardy Smith, who did government relations for City of Daytona Beach. And some other people you may recognize up there though, but that's just to keep business people informed of changes going on here. And then I try to, like I said, keep other things, economic updates on the state of Florida. And this is something you're going to be hearing quite a bit more of this coming legislative session, as well as on the ballot next November, and that is property tax. The governor wants to eliminate property tax in some form or fashion, and the legislature, they came up with a different type of idea with 8 bills that would somehow lower property tax, or maybe not altogether the way he wants to do it. They're going to be at odds of that this coming session, again, which starts in January. But property tax, be looking for more news on that because they want to eliminate property tax. And Will Roberts, our tax collector, tried to give a little bit more details about as it relates to how to pay property tax. You get that discount. Anybody missed out on your 4%, now you get a 3% discount code. This is something that I always hit on though, and I yell about this in every one of my podcasts, and that is $38 trillion national debt. And it's just something we've got to address because it is costing us now about $1 trillion every year. $1 trillion every year, more than the Defense Department budget, just to pay the interest on this credit card. Another thing I put in there is local elections, every local election. And you can click on this though, and you'll see the what the candidates, how many, let's see what they have as far as their campaign coffers or whatever. And that goes from every city in the county as well as the legislature and Congress. And Federal Reserve. Well, that's, that's somewhere distant, so, but Federal Reserve, they make decisions that are going to affect lending rates here at the local level. I mean, y'all deal with that quite a bit in your own business and such. I tried to keep up as much as I could with the government shutdown as it relates to, again, local business here in Volusia. Also, keep listing every month of our legislative delegation, Senators Tom Wright, Tom Reed, as well as our state reps over here. And then our congressional delegation, our folks in Washington. This is something that I probably get the most comment on, is our picture pages. And this is from the legislative delegation meeting back in October over in the land. I think that was my 44th meeting that I went to. I've been going to those things since, maybe my 45th. I've been going to those things since 1984. And Mr. One there. But, so these are the number of speakers. This is where local people, organizations, cities and counties, local entities, universities, they tell the Volusia delegation, hey, this is what we want in the upcoming legislative session. More of our picture pages. This one I think got in here by mistake.
Yeah, I remember that.
But then we have some ads in there. Another thing too, another indicator, as for approximately average median type rents that you'll see here for 1 and 2 and 3 bedroom apartments. Housing affordability, that is a major, major concern for not only local but state government as well. Also have a calendar here, community calendar, things like Chamber of Commerce annual meetings and more so V-Card annual meetings. as well as governmental. And elected officials roundtable, charter review commission meetings, things like that. But I'm trying to get more entities looking at this though, and check this. But when they plan something, they don't plan it on the date because somebody else has got their major event coming up, their annual event or so. Because we've had too many times that you've seen yourself where we've had conflicting events on the same night, and you just don't get the attendance though. And again, this goes back to that $38 trillion national debt and all the other indicators that it has here. And again, constitutional amendments, these are the ones that are looking to go on the ballot. Something about property tax. You're also going to see a recreational pot bill. That'll be coming up, I'd say for sure, on the ballot. They may, I think they're holding up on this Medicaid expansion initiative. I think they're going to go with that in 2028. But these are important every election. Also, every meeting here in the county, as for the city, as well as the county and school board, every CTPO, click on there and you can see who those commissioners are. Even that one over there in Toronto City Council. Another thing too, very important, and this comes home to me, I mean, that is First Step Shelter. That's out there on US 92. And big believer in that. This is back when I was with the Chamber of Commerce. We were big proponents of that, and there's a lot of work to get that out there. Because again, it does affect business community. So we try to show the monthly intake of people going out there into the shelter per se, and where they come from each city, as well as, like I say, the county and sheriff's department. And then we also have what's called the Roseanne Tornator Safe Zone. That's people who do not want to go into the shelter per se. They just want to stay out there, and it gives them a safe place to stay out there on the front porch. They have a cot or something out there. But this is something very, very, very much needed here in Volusia County. And then also have I need to probably update this more so. What are you reading this month? And a lot of people say they check this and they get ideas from, hey, who's reading what? And so like a lot of people, they like to see what other folks are reading when they're looking to pick something out themselves. Also, Democrat, Republican parties. Now, for this newsletter, I have three advertisers, and that is Brown and Brown, and then Edward Jones, and that's my friend Jason here. Thank you. And then also Riverfront Esplanade. They put a number of announcements of things coming up each month in there. But again, this is something though that I'll be going more detail on that. I have a chart here as to real estate as it relates to how many houses are on the market, how long are they on the market, median price for houses being sold. This is per Jamie Gajeos with Lifestyle Realty. She's been getting this to me I think for about a year now. But also it goes back into local lending rates, which is something, again, business people want to know that as well. Just again, some more city and county. In fact, Sean, that was y'all's meeting back in March. I talked about the stormwater master plan, things like that. The stormwater management, that is probably the key issue that is going on in this county right now. The top issue, stormwater management. And then there's a picture of myself and my grandson out there at a Fortuna's game. And in addition to, this is monthly, but then more so up to date, I have what's called Volusia Matters podcast. And I email that out every week. And I attach the newsletter along with that if you want to see that. It's the same newsletter until it changes the first week of every month. But what this is via Podbean or Apple Podcast. I email it out on Wednesdays. This is probably going to go out. I'm going to try to get one out for tomorrow, Thursday, around 12 noon. But any of y'all might remember, been around here, remember the old Mark Bernier, Big John radio shows? Anybody remember them? Okay, well, they both passed away back in 2021, and rest in peace. And I said, my first podcast, this is dedicated to their excellent work, because it's a poor imitation of what they did. However, theirs were on radio, and theirs were 2 hours and 3 hours long. They had commercials, they had callers, they had some editorial context or whatever discussions. So mine is 30 minutes, pretty much 30 minutes. 15 minutes of news, like the stuff that you see in the newsletter, what's going on at the city and county level. Oh, make sure to put this on your calendar. That's coming up next month or next week. The annual RSVP. Make sure to get that calendar on your calendar. Things that are going on, like I say, with state government, but at the local level, everything comes back here to Volusia County. And then in addition to that, though, I have a guest that I interviewed, and I don't know if y'all know this fellow over here. If you ever been to a city commission or county council meeting, John Nicholson, who I like to call John Nicholson, or North Grandview Avenue, when he gives his address. But I think John almost said, he might have said, he broke his own record yesterday. I think he spoke 6 times yesterday at county council meeting. And, but he is a wealth of knowledge. That's why I like to get him on there. But then as for a week, a little bit more up-to-date type news, I give a short kind of a recap of what's going on with the news that's included in the podcast, though. Some people just read sometimes the news out here every week so they can keep a little bit more up-to-date, though. And then, like I said, that's John Nicholson. A lot of y'all wouldn't know LCB, Lori Campbell Baker, with the Waco Beach CVB. She talks about tourism in here in this one. Cyrus Callan, who heads up economic development and aviation resources in the county. And again, here are the details in here. And then, like I say, Ken Strickland from the Daytona Beach City Commission, and then also Mayor, like I say, Derek Henry, City Commission, Daytona. And then also had, this is an old format that I used to have. I had Rick Scott on there one time for an interview. Need to get him back on. And an old fellow, friend of mine, Sean Snake, who was an economist here in Central Florida. And he's good to interview. I enjoy talking with him. But one of the things I'm needing help on, though, is I email this out every week to about 1,500 people throughout Volusia County. And that includes every local elected official as well as most department heads in city and county government throughout Volusia County. And also some of the state up there in Tallahassee, they want to keep in touch with what's going on here locally in Volusia. But that said, because I have some advertisers, and I know I have limited scope about Volusia County, but I am looking for how to get more subscribers to the podcast as well as more listeners to the podcast. And if anybody wants to get on my email list, I've got some of my business cards, or if you give me your business cards somehow today, I'd love to check it out. And even if it's not your cup of tea, you can click unsubscribe, and you're taken off the list. I will say, yeah, I mean, and I see those names who unsubscribe.
They're so
And, and I'm still nice to them. That's okay. I understand. But no, that said, but I am looking for more people to listen and for more advertisers. I have a, like I say, half-page packet, and then a quarter-page packet, I mean, for advertising. So I'm looking for more advertisers for this as well. This does go to a high-end type of reader and listener. Because, and I'll say this, one of the top readers of this thing, his assistant told me so. Hi, Brown. His assistant said, Jim, he waits, he asked me to print that thing out on paper, and he reads it front to back, and he keeps it on his desk. And so, a number of other folks reading it though, but it's a good high-end listenership, I mean, in readership. So if anybody has any questions.
Give him a round of applause. Jim, thank you very much. You know, Jim is, he won't admit it, but he's a marketing genius. And it starts off because everybody takes his phone calls. When he calls you, he always starts off with that, Tom, this is Jim Cameron, and everybody knows that. Long drawn out, and it's perfect. I swear you stretch your name out deliberately. That's wrong.
I gotta tell me that I called up somebody the other day and I said, and they answered, oh, I'm sorry, I've got the wrong number. That's okay, Jim. But, another thing too, I say in every podcast though, is that I do have a guarantee, and I just upped my guarantee that if I do not return your call within 8 business hours, I will pay you $2,000 in cash.
Yes.
Everybody gets disappointed when I call back.
Who has questions today? We're going to take the microphone around. If you have a question, a comment, anything you want to contribute, raise your hand and we'll bring the mic over to you. And here we go. Start with Jen.
Good morning. Jen Rogers with Just Peachy Clean. So I saw that you posted on Apple Podcasts. Where else do you post your podcasts?
Where else do I post it?
Mm-hmm. Like iHeartRadio or Spotify or on your Facebook page, YouTube. Does it go to those as well?
That's a good question. Actually, I need to find out more about that. I mean, I have a guy just that I have. He is my Anthony Rotello. He's my editor, and it's where I work at Synergy.
Okay.
And he does all that type of stuff for me. And but I do see all the results, whatever, that people do pick it up. So I think from what's it called?
Spotify?
Yeah, from that too, and Apple Podcast, whatever, and some I know. But yeah, man, I do have it, from other places, and somehow some people are picking up. I don't know if it's just computers elsewhere, but I may even have listeners around the country, up in New York and Colorado and Texas and all. Even got some over there. I do know some of those folks. I mean, like when they go on vacation, I don't know why, but they said they listen to it while they're on vacation.
Yeah, they want to stay up to date.
And I have some people even in Russia.
Oh, wow.
You know,
No, I was just asking because that would be another way to grow your podcast audience, is making sure that you're on all the platforms that podcasts are hosted. You also, if you have a Facebook page for your podcast, make sure that you're posting it there, as well as whoever's doing your editing can do shorts, where it's just like snippets of, you interviewed somebody and they said something really important, they can just do a 30-second clip of that and post it on there, because those get traction more, and that draws more people to your page and your audience.
Facebook page, huh?
Yep, create a Facebook page for your podcast, absolutely.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, because every single podcast that you do, you said they're 30 minutes, that can be cut up into a million different little 30-second segments that can be posted as a reel, and reels get pushed out to people way more than long-form content. And if they see those reels, then they're gonna go back to your page to see what you have to say more of what you're doing. I would suggest a YouTube channel for sure, and a Facebook page, Instagram, all of that stuff, because they can all connect it. So like, don't get overwhelmed with that. They can all be connected, and they can all post out and push together. But I would definitely suggest that.
And I like that Facebook. I did try it on Instagram, and my guy Anthony, he and I, we talked about Instagram, and yeah, I've tried that a couple of times, and I'm not that technological, as you can tell, but I'm getting there. It's kind of scary, but
Well, if you ever
and
need
then
more,
I
we'll
even
know
tried it
about
on
it.
X a couple of times, so I may try to get back to that. I mean, so I appreciate that. Yeah.
Can't imagine Jim Cameron does TikTok.
Yes.
Catherine Neal, I was going to suggest to you to simplify your process. You could build out, especially now, an AI workflow that it sort of pulls everything in and distributes it. And you don't even have to do that much work, whether it's to Facebook, to listing your podcast, doing that sort of stuff. There's lots of technological ways that you can approach this that would be less labor intensive and would get your word out to a lot more people.
Well, and I appreciate that, though. And you said AI, and I need to talk. I got to talk to Anthony quite a bit because he understands that. But let me add, there's something I even suggested to a committee out there at Daytona State College, is that there's a lot of people like me that y'all want to put on a program, I told, about business people who don't want to admit that they don't know anything about AI, and they're scared to ask about it, though, but they'd like to know something about it, so hopefully they'll be coming up with a basic introductory tutorial type program as to what AI is about.
Well, you can also come ask me, because I'm
Yeah.
building those things.
Well, no, sure, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just scared to ask.
I'll give you a discount.
I'm pretty interested when you posted that when you showed that $38 trillion debt concern, which is an existential threat to the country right now. In my opinion, it's very serious. And I heard more about on social media that Elon Musk thinks that it can be resolved by using AI within 3 years. Now, I don't know how realistic that is, but I'm wondering, like, what approach is the country taking in battling that debt?
And that's the scary part about it, though. I mean, I don't know how they are going to be able to address it, though. I mean, because they say, well, Congress needs to cut back on spending, and truth be told, I think I have a chart that I'm going to put that back in there sometime next issue or so. But Congress, when they deal with discretionary type spending, as to how much they cut back everything to the bone. It'll make probably that much, maybe difference or whatever. The big difference as it relates to U.S. spending, as it relates to that, is entitlements. Things like those people that are collecting Social Security, like me, and people like taking benefit from Medicare, like me, and but then also Medicaid. It's those types of entitlements. So those are the main things. So that, I don't know. They're gonna, and nobody wants to touch Medicaid or Medicare or Social Security for that matter. You don't want to really cut into that. I mean, because that's going to cost you votes in Congress. But I don't know. It's a real dilemma.
I'm just wondering if like a good percent of the population really like tries to tackle this. Like if a lot of people like use AI to try to like say, what could we do to bring down the debt? If that could be a solution. I don't know what Elon Musk had in mind when he said that in 3 years that this debt could be resolved through AI. But I'm just wondering, a lot of people in the country just really start jointly tackling the situation.
Yeah, that would keep us here all day trying to,
Yeah.
solve that. No doubt. But I mean, and then there's also some talk, before, well, Trump was saying some of these new tariff regulations, whatever that he's got on there, and the money, the revenue we're collecting from the new tariff policies, that's gonna help bring down the debt. Well, maybe, but 38 trillion is a lot more to go, and it's going like $1 trillion every year.
It's insane, really, that fall.
Back here to Heath.
Hi, James Heath. Nice to see you there. I just had a comment and then a question, if I may. First of all, comment on the debt situation. The US debt can never be repaid. Can never be repaid because money is created as debt, has been done so since 1913 in the Federal Reserve Act.
Yep.
It's just a way to, and when people talk about entitlements, we create more debt, more debt, more debt, more debt, because we have to pay the interest on the money that was created in the last term. And the last term, if you look at the debt in relation to presidents, every president since 1913 increases the debt because that's how our money is. So it's a non sequitur to try and talk about ever paying down the debt because we can't. The question that I asked is that every time I see somebody like you talking about politics, one thing about America is that the democracy in this country is very, very deep down to the local level. And when you talk about federal politics, local politics, and state politics, in your opinion and your experience, how important is local politics to us as compared to federal politics?
Good question. Some of y'all been, I don't think there's many been around as long as I have, but I remember myself talking with Tip O'Neill, who used to be House Speaker years and years and years ago, 40-something years ago in Washington. And he said himself with the line, all politics is local. No matter where it's in Washington, it comes back to a local level. But it is local. But, and the other thing too, I remember a big group, the Leadership Daytona class that I hosted, about 30-something years ago. And it was between a state rep and a mayor at Daytona Beach City Hall. And the mayor said, you guys in Tallahassee, y'all were up there in your chambers, whatever. Not many people get to go up there and yell at y'all when y'all do something up there in Tallahassee, pass a tax increase or maybe an unfunded mandate that we at the local government level have to deal with. So y'all are somewhat separated. Down here at City Hall, twice a month, we have City Commission, but sometimes we have a bunch of angry constituents out there that we have to deal with. And that's direct. That is direct. So, again, it is, yeah, they're separated at the local, from local level in Washington and Tallahassee, but they still have to go through elections here, at the local level as well. That's a good question, though, Ian.
Charlie Howell, one of the organizers here, and I want to, this is probably going to backfire on me, but you just touched on Leadership Daytona, and I know you did it for many, many years. If you were in Leadership Daytona under Jim, would you mind standing up just to see how many people we have? I know there's at least 3 of us in there.
Charlie and I are in the same class.
Oh, yeah?
So that was a good legacy to have there.
22, best class ever.
But can you talk just a moment about Leadership Daytona, what you did there?
Sure.
Not, just a few minutes.
Leadership Daytona, it started in 1981 down there at Chamber, and we had a staff meeting one morning. A fellow named George Mirabal, he was our president at the time, and George passed away a couple of years ago, and I always thought the world of him. But George said, hey, so-and-so on our staff is going to be leaving. Anybody want to take over what's called leadership Daytona class until we get somebody else on board for it? All right, well, she's okay. If nobody else wants to do it, I'll do it. And the guy that left, he left me a great set of instructions, and it was fantastic. Because, again, I started working with these people, and these sessions and all that we put together. It's called Simulated Society, SimSoc, if anybody that ever remember that. And they still remember what team they were on. A lot of them still remember what team they were on. There's a place to SimSoc.
But Fight Club rules.
What's that?
But Fight Club rules, we can't talk about it.
Well, yeah. But no, I mean, and I figured, wait a minute. Geez, I think I can take this class and then parlay it somehow, merge it into government relations. And we did have a number of people who went through leadership Daytona who went on and served in office in state legislature. Tom Leake up there, you saw up there, leadership Daytona class 20, who's now state senator. He's going to be a future Senate president, Tom Leake. But and she was the state senator. She passed away several years ago. Dorothy Hugel, you might remember her. Dorothy Hugel, she was in leadership Daytona class 16. But then Fred Costello, who went on to serve in the legislature here in Tallahassee, ran for Congress, didn't make it. He lost out to Michael Waltz. But and then we started doing these government class when I was doing it. We took a bus from leadership up there to Volusia Day, so merged it a little bit there together. But yeah, it's a good program. I highly recommend it. And then like I say, Daytona worked with Flagler, Gorman, and remember Debbie Connors, who worked with her down there to get leadership for Orange started. And so I think we also worked with the Southeast Volusia, New Smyrna. That was like 30-something years ago. But it's a good program wherever you take it throughout the county, because it does get you acclimated as to how things work here in the county and issue connections as well.
Okay, so Jim, thank you for speaking today. For those who don't know Jim Cameron, this is truly a blessing to have him in this arena today. This man is, if you want something done on the political level, you want to make that connection, you want to meet somebody. I've gone to Tallahassee with Jim before. I've scanned in the chambers. Every single state senator and congressman that walks by, Jim knows by on a first name basis. He will stop every single one of them, will have a conversation, will set up the meetings you need. He is a blessing to our community. So thank you for everything that was done.
Thank you. Would you ride up there with me?
Never again.
It's always an adventure.
So we rode up to Tallahassee one day, and Jim had the bright idea to have somebody meet us at a rest stop, and then to leave their car at the rest stop.
That's what it is.
Well, if you know anything about driving I-10, it could be 10 or 15 miles between exits to get back to a rest stop. Jim added about 2 hours to our drive home that day. So, never again will I ride with you unless I'm driving. But one thing I do want to say is, I'm also going to shamelessly plug your newsletter. That is the best source. If you're looking for one source of everything that's going on in our county and on the state level, it is full of information. It may not be a very exciting read, but it's a very informative read. The podcasts are fabulous. They're great to go to sleep to, but they're very informative. So, and you joke about that too. I'm telling you guys, get on his mailing list, read that newsletter. It is so informative, and thank you for the 40 plus years you've done for Volusia.
You rock.
Wonderful job. Thank you, Jim. We're going to ask one final question because you got a whole bunch of folks here in the room and online. when we leave here, what's the one thing that this one MC community can do for you in your newsletter, your podcast?
Well, like I said, any recommendations that you have, if you could see me, I mean, just come up there and get one of my cards. I'd love to add you to my email list if you want to try it out. Again, if it's not your cup of tea, you can unsubscribe to it or whatever, but I am looking for more listeners, and I'm looking for more advertisers. Like I said, let me add, I only advertise in the newsletter. I do advertise, I'm going to put more advertisers on the opening page that you saw up there as it relates to the podcast. That comes out every week. I'm going to start putting ads in that as well more so. But I don't put verbal ads on the podcast because I try to keep that, again, that 15 minutes span there, short and sweet. But any more advertisers that you know of, anybody wants to put in with me, and more listeners, sure would like to have you.
Go sign up.
Where can we get pricing for that? Where can we get pricing for the advertising?
Just call.
Pricing.
Call. Easy move. All right, everybody. Hey, great job today. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. And don't forget, if you got any toys for presents, we're doing the Toys for Tots program today. You can drop them off here. And also next week, that'll be the last day. So next Wednesday, what is that, 17th? No. 10th, thank you. So it's the 10th. That's the last day for the donations. And that day we'll also be doing a little raffle thing. So put a present in there, get a raffle ticket, we'll draw a prize, and we're gonna give giveaways and stuff. So bring them on in here. Hey, we're gonna bring up